Never mind. We will do that in a minute.
Ah, we're live.
We are live. Hello, hello. We always get excited when we go live. It's like, and let's press that record.
Our team was drowning.
Ooh, sorry.
Our days used to split between work
always
and managing on Monday.com.
We've been joined by other people today.
I cannot help this.
We're building and running workflows that made it really easy for us to work together.
I'm going to mute this and you go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, hello everyone. Sorry for all that. It's been a while. We'd missed last week and I wasn't here the week before, so it feels like But welcome. While you're joining, share with a friend, say hello. And today we are talking. We're continuing on our journey with the Soulmate Attraction course, joined by Chengi and Yvonne and myself, Unique. So welcome. And while Chengi sorts out her sound, just wanted to find out how are you doing, Yvonne, because I'm looking for the topic in my notes right now.
I'm back. Hello. we had a few tech difficulties. I am so back. You know what it is? For some reason, my YouTube decided to play on my computer. But anyway, hello, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you, Unique, for jumping in there like the hostess with the mostest, as usual. Hello, everybody. I can see you all coming in. This is fantastic. We'd love to have you live with us because, it's just girls in a room having a chat. Nothing really posh about this setup. We're working on it. But we'll make sure we look pretty for all of you so that you feel welcome. All right. So hello and welcome. So we are continuing with our Soulmate Attraction System journey with you here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. My name is Chengi. I am your dating and relationship expert here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. And I'm joined tonight by Yvonne Green, who is our coach extraordinaire. And of course, our beloved style concierge and coach and all things lovely, Unique Sebanda. Hello. Take a bow. always good to have my
sorry.
Exactly, the Queen Yvonne.
Queens have arrived.
The royal family has arrived.
The SWAN Kingdom. Grateful to be in your presence. Hello.
Delighted.
Delighted, darling, delighted. Clearly, with the British girls, what can I say? We are coming from England. We're hailing from the United Kingdom, Britain, England, whatever you want to call it. But we are here for you, my darlings. And we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight, but we're going to also continue to explore the wonderful topic that we've been exploring, which has been the Soulmate Attraction System. And you ladies have really responded beautifully to it. The phone calls are coming in. You are really committing to your journey. And that warms my heart because it means that these calls and these lives are really resonating with so many of us. And so tonight we're moving on to what would be our module 6. Now we can do this over and over and over. And so in module 6, we begin to summarize your journey because you've gone through a lot of work. You have done a lot of inner work. You've done a lot of crying. You've done a lot of introspection. You've done a lot of healing. You've really dug your heels into your new journey. We have removed the mass, the cancerous mass out of your body, but you still have some radiotherapy to go through. You still have other processes to go through. But at least we've got the bullet out of the wound, right? We've extracted the bullet. Now we can stitch you up and put you back together. And 6 and 7 are kind of part of that stitching together process where now that you've dealt with all of these stories and all of this pain and all of these things that have held you back and held you down and given you a worldview that only stops you from being the very best version of yourself. And you're now in love with love. You now have a good, healthy relationship with love. You begin now to write your own love story and journey on to make beautiful, soulful connections. And so that's what we're talking about today, going beyond. And a lot of our clients have always reported that beyond romantic relationship connections, even your friendships begins to shift. Even your relationship with your family begins to shift. And that can be a beautiful experience. It can be a painful experience, but at least you're conscious in that experience. So did you find the title unique?
Yes, we did find the title, and now my laptop doesn't want to show the title.
The title is How to Embrace Your Journey
And they
and
didn't put
Build
it in the chat.
Soulful, Lasting Connections. Yay. So thank you so much. So what do you have to say about that, Yvonne? What are your thoughts? Let us know your thoughts. You obviously work with people, a lot of people through the Soulmate, and you transform so many lives, and you're so loved, and everybody, the people have written your testimonials of how amazing you are as a coach doing the Soulmate. What is your feeling about module 6 as a coach and as you watch your clients? Tell us your thoughts.
Hi everyone, and welcome this evening. Module 6 is my favorite one to go through with our clients because, as you said earlier, you see them in every state of, like when you first meet them, they sit in front of you like deer caught in headlights, where they're kind of, they're scared, they're not sure what's going to happen, and you spend a lot of time just really, ensuring them that you're in a good place, it's okay to be here. And then by the time, I like the analogy that you gave. It's you've removed the bullets, and those bullets are the suitors that were not so suited, and they've left their imprint all over their hearts, and one by one you remove them. And then you come to module 6, and then you look at it, gives you the opportunity to survey your landscape to see, okay, where am I and what do I want to do? Where do I want to go from here? And it gives you clarity of mind. You now recognize the you that you want to be, because you've done a lot of self-visualization, wanting to know where this woman's going, how she's going to get there, and who is going to accompany her on the next leg of that journey. But one of the things that I want to say with module 6 is, because you have so changed, and those people around you have noticed and seen the change, here is can be quite a bumpy road if you're not careful. And why I say that it is, the people that you've got your ride or die, and you think they're going to be with you through thick or thin, if you all remain on the same plateau, then everyone's great with that. But once someone in the group decides that, what, I don't want to drink from this font anymore, I want to move on and I want to sample something over there, and you've sampled it and you're coming back and you're saying, I'm doing this course I'm working with, and it's done this for me, and it's done this, and they've noticed the change. Then you can find your ride or die. They're not so ride or die with you anymore, because how dare you want to change, especially if you were on the bottom run of the, the hierarchy. You're not as, up top and as equal as you thought, because now they're thinking, so what, does she think she's better than us because she's doing, and so on and so on. And what that can do is that can let you think, am I in the right place? Am I with the right people? And what that then does is make you look at your landscape, look at the people that you're with, and then you have to make that decision. You know what, you can't accompany me on this leg of the journey. So what you then have to do is remove yourself from that place, find your own tribe now, your unique tribe, go out there and take from different sources to know what is going to be your person, your new group now that you're coming into. So whilst you're loving love, which is loving you, you love you, those people around you who thought they loved you, but they loved you and it was with a condition. You don't improve, you stay where you are. Now that you have improved, well, how dare you? You didn't ask our permission, so you can't, so it's navigating through that. And when you come on the other side of it and you go into 7, then you realize, what, this was the very best thing for me, because it has enabled me to park those, leave them at one side, wish them well, and continue on your journey to the relationship, the love connection that you want, because you can't do that with them in it.
Wow. I know, right? And I love what Yvonne's saying, because for you to really realize the people that are not going to go on that journey with yourself, you need to understand what your new love journey is going to be. Yes. Because you've now defined your...
Oh, you...
I think Unique has muted herself.
Anywho, as I was saying.
Yes.
It's so busy that time of the year. Anyway, so I think now that you've defined love, you now know where you want to go in life, and you've defined your core needs. You've literally defined where you want your path to be. There's a part in the journal of the module 6 where you start off by saying my new normal is, and that's the bit I love the most, because now you're putting everything together that you've come from module 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You've decided this is the kind of, when a man I like shows up like this. These are my core needs. I love a man who is considerate. I love a man who who adores me, who loves me off, and all that kind of stuff. And you now putting it together, you have redefined your way of asking for love, needing love. Then now you're actually ready to make real connections, not just communicate my needs or just communicate. But in module 6, you really discover that you're ready to make real connections, because you're now connecting from an authentic place of who you really are. And I think for me that is amazing, because you get to literally rewrite your story. In this part, you're rewriting everything you want. And we always say, don't leave any stone unturned. Like, turn everything. Like, how would you like your relationship with your mom to be like? What would you like your relationship with your sister with like? Because we've already discussed all of this in the previous models. We've looked at the what's the best that could happen in your relationships. Like, you've looked at the relationship with yourself as well, like what you're trying to build. You did your goals in module 2. You now know exactly what you want in the next 5 years. Now it's time to actually write, okay, now this is my new normal. This is what this new version of this person who's been through this transformative work now does. Like, this is now my new normal.
I love that. I love that piece about your new normal. I love the piece about loving yourself and what love looks like. And something that Yvonne said earlier, you said, look, I think we don't often consider how powerfully the course changes you, so much so that you start to really question your friendship group.
Yes.
And you really start to question, because again, depending on where you were in the rung, you may have been at the very top, but you may have been at the very top of fools. Well, let's not say that word, but you may
say the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, you could have been the leader. You could have been the one everybody admires, until you realize that they were admiring your ego, not your true authentic self. That you had to play a part. Maybe you were the life and soul of the party, because that was your part in the role, and everybody would go wherever you're going, and because wherever you're going is super cool. And I remember when I met some new friends, and I'd actually been invited to a party by my cousin. I went along and met a few people, and after that I became the party girl. Every party that was going on from that party, I was always on the list. And I really sort of sat down with myself and I said, I hate parties. I love a good dinner party. I love a nice cocktail party. I like a good soiree.
Yes.
Love that. I love a good gala, a nice ball, anything that makes me dress up like a princess. Yes. Why? Because they're civilized as far as I'm concerned. And, I've just never been one for the loud music and the crowd. I just feel like, they're going to eat me, right? Because I'm naturally more introverted. But I would go along and I'd be the first one on the dance floor, the last one off it, making the most noise. And so of course people had me, you got to bring Chengi, she's the life and soul of the party. Don't get me wrong, when I show up to an event that I love, I do bring light, I bring love, I bring warmth. I'm there because I want to be there, so you'll get a lot of smiles, a lot of hugs, a lot of warmth. But I realized I actually really, when I did the inner work, I was like, I hate it. I hate the loud music. I hate people bumping into me. I hate the fact that I kind of never quite know what to wear, and I'm usually over covered, and because in this room and these kind of wild parties or in clubs and everybody's in skimpy clothing, and I feel like grandma because I don't dress like that. I'm not into that whole kind of clubbing attire. I like to look elegant and sophisticated most of the time. So it was kind of like, what am I doing here? And I sit here thinking, I don't know if I know that song because I'm just not in the scene. So, I just started to feel old and boring. So, and I got tired of pretending. So I was like, I don't go to parties. And everyone was like, and I was like, don't invite me. Do not ever invite me to a party. And did you know that? Yeah, they were like horrified. They were like, really? Wow, it was really shocking. But here was the kicker, is that I never got invited to anything, and I came out of the friendship automatically. Because that whole friendship group was built on partying together. So they couldn't relate to me in any way. So there wasn't even any hard feelings. I think they were just shocked, and I became irrelevant, and that just dropped off. And the impact of me not having that thing on my back about, God, they're going to ask me to go to a party and I'm going to have to find an excuse, was fantastic, because I was able to actually avail myself to the places and events that I wanted to be a part of, and meet the people that came with my soulful desires. And those people resonated more with me, and they became better friends that fed into me because they were more authentically who I was. That is not to say that people go to parties have no value. Many of them are smart, intelligent. They just like to let their hair down in a certain kind of way. It's not because they're dressed skimpy that they necessarily lose morals. It's just a code of dress in certain spaces. And so for me, it was really about recognizing that this soulmate journey doesn't just shift your relationship with men, it genuinely shifts your relationship with other women. It shifts your relationship with family. But sometimes it's not as abrupt, because I think a lot of people think, oh God, I've got so many friends, I don't want to lose another one. Sometimes it's like I always say to the clients, like the autumn leaves. The season changes and the leaves just drop. Nobody has to go to the tree to shake it. Nobody has to go with a leaf blower. Nobody has to pull down the leaf.
You have to shake everything.
Shake
Get off me.
It's a change of season. Certain leaves drop, certain relationships drop, but then soon, before you know it, it's a spring for you. So that's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
What's your experience? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd love to. You mentioned irrelevance, and I think that kind of came to mind for me. Like, reading module 6, you learn to be irrelevant to your old life and avail yourself to your new life. And you learn to accept it. Like, you don't have to fit in. You don't have to show up in those spaces that you don't like, because that old you, it's like when we say when the reptiles shed their skin, they don't need that skin anymore. It's a totally new thing, and they move up to new pastures. And so it's that whole thing of learning to accept that I'm not relevant to that old life anymore. And by letting go of that old life, I think the last time we talked about how if you close one door, you allow the other doors to be open to you. So now you're allowing your new life to be available to you, to be open to you, to make the connections that you need to make. And the other thing is, it's scary because it's new territory. It's like going to preschool. It's like going to uni, actually. When you've just come out of high school, you're going to uni, it's scary. Or even just going to preschool, because you're coming from your parents, everyone's protecting you, familiar surroundings, and you're going into a new world. And a lot of children have different experiences when they're going into nursery. So it's like the same thing. It's like you can't hang on to being at home with mom and still expect to enjoy the preschool experience and whatever stage in life we go to. So it's like celebrating letting go by understanding that you've outgrown that part, and now you need to move on into a bigger environment that allow you to grow to your fuller potential.
I hear what you're saying, Unique, and when you said like the snake that sheds its skin, the beauty with that is when you shed the old skin, the old skin that's coming off, the new skin is making you bigger, better, badder, bolder, tougher, and brighter. And when it does that, when somebody comes in, because it's almost like you've had I don't want to use the word rebirth, but that's the one that's come to mind.
Pretty much is that, though, isn't it?
It's almost like that, because before, when you were gullible and somebody came along and they said, oh, the sky is green. Oh, yes, you're so right.
Yes.
It is, because you kind of liked them, and you wanted that, you agreed with everything that they'd said to you and everything that you did. You've now got this new skin on, and this new skin looks fabulous, but they're still seeing the same facial expression, and they think, oh, but it's still Jenny, until you open your mouth. Your whole energy, everything has shifted. Now when they come with, my love, really love you, baby girl, and all of this, and you're really looking at them and thinking, are we still there? You don't fall for that anymore, and you have so developed a new language. You can articulate your journey, not necessarily the journey that you've been on, but when you're having a conversation with them, within a few sentences, they know something's changed. She's not there anymore, so I can't come with that. I'm gonna have to do something else. And that is such a beautiful place to be in, because it's not that you've become hardened, but your new shell that you've got, the new you, has clothed you in something different. And that difference is confidence. That difference that you're clothed in is because, you know what, I love me. And because I love me, I won't accept second best. I'm not going to accept anything out there that doesn't meet this new confidence that I've got, this new rebirth that I've had, this new acceptance of me, warts and all, because yes, there's a new us. We do have warts. We're not afraid to talk about them, but we're certainly not going to hide because of them.
Yeah. And I was going to say as well, like literally as you're talking, it brought to mind, like we are transformed by the renewing of our minds, right? And module 6 is literally the translation of that. Because your mind is now so renewed, you are therefore then transformed to then live out this amazing life.
Yeah, powerful. Absolutely. And really interesting when you were talking, Yvonne and Unique. I just remembered a client of mine, because I think we've kind of mentioned the piece where people fall off, and and I think sometimes it can feel like when you've gone through a season, if you're in a personal growth journey, you always feel like you're losing people. Oh, for goodness sakes, when am I going to keep a friend or keep, because everyone just you seem to be having to really sacrifice these relationships that were once very comfortable, and sometimes they've done you no harm. But I also want to give a story of, a client of mine who actually realized how loved she was when she changed, because she'd always been playing I'll serve. I think she shared it in the Black Swan Nation, which is, by the way, our group coaching session. So you can always we're starting school when September. So make sure you're part of part of the community, so that if some people drop off, you've got a whole bunch of new friends who are on the same journey with you. But anyway, she shared that in the Black Swan Nation. That's how that happened. And she said basically she was always the one, every time the friends were going out to anything, we're having that, she would be the one to organize it. She would make sure that everybody's there at the same time. She was just the assumed organizer. But when she went through the soulmate, she was like, I don't like doing this. I don't like being the one everybody has to I have to organize holidays, everything. And she actually thought to herself, because she's got a renewed mind and she's been transformed, she thought to herself, look, what if I just ask them, can somebody please take on the organization of this event? And I think she probably assumed that there would be some rebellion.
Yeah.
But actually, what was really beautiful is all her friends just swooped in, divvied up the responsibilities, and made it as good as she would have done it.
Yeah.
It actually opened her eyes to the beauty of the people around her, that whilst she thought She had to perform for love. She had to earn everybody's, love and be Miss Busybody. She actually realized, I'm enough, right? I'm actually genuinely enough. They actually just love to have me. And they were just going along with it because they thought she enjoyed it. They just thought, well, that's a thing. But the moment she asked them to, and they actually ended up having a beautiful conversation. I think it was to the cinema or something. They end up having dinner. And everybody was really pleased at her growth. And everyone was like, wow, we love this new you. We love that you're a lot more vocal and articulate. And so sometimes we're not giving the people around us a chance. Create a soulful connection because we're showing up in our ego, but they chose our authentic self from hello. When they met us, somehow found a way of connecting with our true selves. But we've just got this pattern, right, that we've been using to connect. We have these patterns and we've dealt with these patterns in all the modules prior. So now you realize, okay, I don't have to engage with this pattern. And for her, it was life transforming because she then realized the people I've been investing all this time and attention into are genuine, solid gold platinum people. They're genuinely great friends who will accept my growth. They haven't joined the Black Swan Nation for whatever reason. Maybe they're married, maybe they're happy, maybe their lives are perfect, or whatever the story is. But they're supportive of her journey. They see how much she's grown and how much she's changed, and she's more pleasant and she's confident, and they love that energy around them. So that's something else that can happen, which is really beautiful, in your relationships as well at this point. They've been taken aback. They've been taken aback by the.
We're taking it in.
They're taking it in. It is the miracle and the magic of the modules, because I always say to our clients, you are not going to know, even when they come to me and this, I've got this relationship, I want it to work, I don't know if it's going to work, blah, blah, blah. I always say to them, we're not going to make any decisions, because what we need to do is actually take this journey. And at the end of the journey, who you will be very different. And that person on the other side of the journey, they'll know if they want this guy or not. They'll know if they want this job or not. They will know if they want this friendship or not. They will know if this person was just to comfort them or if this person was for the ego. They will know. That version of you that is transformed by the renewing of you always has greater clarity. And it's not coming overnight, is it? It's a 3-4 month journey, which is
and like you said, like obviously the calls are now a lot longer as well, because I think before we used to do 1 hour, the calls are like an hour and a half, and we actually get a lot more time to really explore your soul's desires, because I think it's module 2 or 3, but we actually ask you if your soul had a voice, what does your soul actually desire? And you explore that through the modules. And by the time you get to module 6, you really know what your soul truly desires. And it's normally real, authentic connections anyway, but it just never had a language on how to express and how to say, look, this is what I need. And I had a client today, and there's a friend of hers that she hadn't seen in a while. And because we just said at the beginning, and it kind of reminded me of the journey as well. It's like sometimes being able to say I miss you to an old friend is so hard because our ego is in the way. We're like, no, can't say I miss you. I haven't seen her. Well, she's been liking my post, so she better know I miss her. And it's all of that back and forth within our voices. But when she really looked down intrinsically in her own soul, she just missed her friend. And it's like the journey allows you to make that okay, to say, I miss someone. And it's okay, because the thing is, what you would have been starving yourself is a genuine connection. Is when you don't say, I miss you, you're allowing an opportunity to really connect with another human being on a different level, when they know that they're actually appreciated. Because saying to someone, I miss you, means you actually appreciate their presence. It's not, I don't want you for anything. I just miss you. I miss your presence. I miss our laughter, whatever it is. So by the time you get to module 6, this is the language you've now developed to actually say, you know what, my soul requires these kind of connections. So therefore, you actually become that. And by you becoming that, then you then attract the friends that are on that level. Like, honestly, I think in the past, I did soulmate like 5 years ago. in the past time, and this is very, it might not seem like anything. When I was first joining Black Swan, I was like, you know what, I'd love to have friends like Chengi and Yvonne. But guess who I was with at brunch the other day?
No.
It's that, like, you know, when you look back and think it's because of the work. So we now resonate on the same frequency. We now resonate on the same mind. We can talk about anything. We can, you know, we can just all day long. And because the connection is authentic. So what I'm getting to is that by module 6, you now know what your heart's desires are, and you're not afraid to ask for them. You're not afraid to actually live them out and say, you know, I'm going to get these kind of friends. You're not afraid to join the private membership clubs that you've been meaning to join for 100 years, and you've just been passing by and not thinking you're going to get through. You are able to join that gym that, you know, you've been seeing that cutie go to, but you're just too afraid because you think, oh, you need to be some kind of weight first before you go. It's all of those things that you even learn to start to have general conversation without thinking they're going to lead somewhere. Because I have met some amazing guys who are friends, but and funny enough, there's a guy I met on Hinge some time ago, and we become good friends. And it's little things that I kind of bounce back. And I was honest enough to be able to say, I don't have that connection with you, but I really think would make good friends. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, that would have been too vulnerable to say that, right? Mm-hmm. You'd have been like, oh, hell no, like it's okay. Thank you very much, we're not compatible. Bye. But now I can say, you know, I can see the quality of us being friends, and this is what I can offer you. If you don't want that, that's okay. I'm sure I can find another friend. And it's become a beautiful relationship. We've never had to meet, but the conversations that we have are very enlightening. So if you think about it this way, sometimes I know some people come in to look, I'm looking for a guy, I need to sort out myself so I can get the guy. But like Penny said the other day, it's not even about that. You come away with yourself. So by module 6, you're coming away with all of you. Like, you know, like I think it was Juanita Bynum where we had to pray and bring our body parts together. What was it called? I can't remember those prayers back in the day.
No, I don't remember them because I never did that.
What was it called? I can't remember. Someone tell me in the comments. I can't remember now. But there were these prayers where, like, okay, soul ties. When you're praying about soul ties, like you're praying for all your parts to come back together. Like bring back my. You guys didn't do those prayers.
No.
What kind of Christians are you?
You were doing different types of prayers, and we do not want to share those prayers. It was levels.
Yeah. Basically, it was same as those, but they were a little bit more on platforms. And it was so funny because I was thinking, like, soulmate, actually, you didn't even need to go out and ask people to bring back the things that you had shared with them. It's literally just rediscovering yourself, because in the first place, they never got to know who you really were and because you didn't know your worth, you would have given away, you know, the whole giving pearls to swine kind of thing. You would have literally just given away your worth. You didn't know who you were. But now that you know who you are, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yes.
So powerful.
Right?
Yeah. Do you know something unique? I've been listening to what you're saying intently, and as you're listening, the Rolodex in my head is it's really going out, you know, and it is it's so true. Do you know, we talk about the soulmate, and our audience are hearing us talking about the soulmate. And I'm sure they're probably thinking that, you know what, it can't be that good. What you're saying, no, forget it. But you know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Chengi created it. So in order for her to create it, she would have had to have lived it. We as coaches, each and every one of us, we've had to have done it, and also familiarize ourselves with everything to do with it. And from doing it, it has changed our lives and made us better people for who we are. And when you were speaking there, Unique, and you know, talking about the changing of our mindset, you know, our minds are being transformed. There's a very important part of that mind shift and transformation that is necessary for us to go through to understand I don't have to take what is on offer. It's when we realize that as women, there is no scarcity. You don't have to take what is out there. If somebody comes along and it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, guess what? It's a duck, and you don't, and it's okay to say,
yeah, some people like
so
duck.
lovely. Thank you
Actually,
very
duck
much.
tastes good.
Well, if you want to eat one, then that's fine. But if you actually want to date one, then it may not be quite the person for you. You know? And the things that, you know, when we look back at our dating history and, you know, you're looking back at the people and you think, gosh, what was I thinking? Where did I think this thing could go? He could, you know, barely string a sentence together, and he spoke English. And you oh, I want someone who's going to be articulate, somebody who, you know, knows what he's doing, where he's going. And all he ever wanted to do was come to your house to eat, do what he needed to do afterwards and go. And that was, you know, if you got please and thank you when you put the food in front of him, you were lucky. And you thought, well, at least I've got a man. Half a bread is better than nothing. But here's the thing with half a bread. When you're in bed at night and you're crying in your pillow, half a bread is not comforting you. It's just what it is, a loaf of bread. Do you get what I mean? And all you're doing is shoveling that bread down your throat, getting fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. And then you think, well, nobody wants me. Look at the size of me. Take the bread out of your mouth. There is no scarcity. And this is what the soulmate does for us. It so transforms us so that we get our voice back. As you know, there was a client of mine when I said to her, who took your voice away? What stopped you in your tracks? And that's what happens to us when we're children. Somebody says something and we shut up and we sit and we don't say anything. And anybody can come along and say, well, why don't you do this? Okay, we should go over here. Okay, what about over here? Whatever you say. And that really is what we do. But by the time you've come to module 6, and what I love about it is when it says, write your own legacy. What do you want to leave behind? And it's not going to be, well, what do you think I should say, Johnny? No. What do you unique want to leave behind? What must it say when someone's doing, let's hope it's not for hundreds of years yet, our eulogy? What is it that they're going to say about us? And it cannot be that, oh, we all loved her. Oh, you know, wherever we said we were going, she was always, no, it can't be that. It must be that when she walked into a room, everybody knew she was there. When she opened her mouth, we're all in awe about what she came out. She was an orator, or, you know, she wrote beautiful books, or she was the style concierge. And when she dressed you, you know, it's got to be the good things that they say about you, and not that you were somebody's lapdog, not that you know, they threw a bone and you went and got it, or if they say jump, you immediately said, well, how high, sir? No, it gives you the courage to say, so what is your legacy? What are you going to write about you? What are those that are coming up behind, you know, we've created the neurological pathways. Your daughter, Unique, as she's coming up, your son, Chengi, as they're coming up, they're seeing the way mother moves. They're seeing the things that, you know, their mothers are doing. They're seeing the relationships that their mothers are having. So they're saying, you know what? That doesn't have to be my story. My story, because my mother is healthy, she's healed and whole, is going to be a completely different story because the neurological pathways have been set. So they don't need to make the mistakes that we're making. And why we are so delighted and so in awe of soulmate is because it just does that. It takes you from stuck and brings you into start living again once your mind has been renewed.
Absolutely. New slogan, it takes you from stuck to start.
Love it. You have it. We've got a new one. I tell you what, I love how you've taken this conversation to somewhere really powerful and way deeper, which we do. if you hang around long.
I know.
Going down, deep down. But I love how you went into the whole generational and transgenerational impact, because I remember speaking to one of our clients. She was coached by one of the coaches, not myself, but I like to check in, as you know. And she said to me, Chengi, you have impacted, this cause has impacted my mother and my daughter. And she says that's 3 generations.
Yeah.
Not that her mother did it, it's not that her daughter did it, but the transformation in her. And she spoke about how her mother had always had a friendship dynamic that she'd always had a problem with. And she was never able to talk the mother out of that dynamic. But because she had also mirrored that dynamic in her relationships, and her daughter had also mirrored that in her relationships. But when the mother saw her successfully shift the dynamics in her friendships and actually, walk away from even friendships that were, over a long period of time and survive and thrive and become better, the mother didn't say to her, oh, daughter, you have taught me how to live. The mother started to separate herself from certain friendships that had been trying. The mother started to make these choices that she would have never made before. And she was like, my goodness, I never thought I would see the day, right? And mom is starting to move in the world very differently. Why? Because we are truly influential. And her daughter said something to her, and I forget what the daughter said, but I think she was talking to her daughter, and her daughter started giving her advice. And it was just based on, she was like, I don't even know where she heard it, but it's a black swan thing. And she's 15. I don't know where she heard it, right? but she heard it from her mother's resonance. She heard it from her mother's healed space, because probably her mom talks differently. And so just one person doing the cause and 3 generations are affected. And one of the things that I love, especially because when the mother heals, the children heal. So whether you're a mother right now, and, something my son said to me, he said, oh, mom, I was reading something, and, because he's a geek, just like me, he's like you've met him, is like me. And he's like, mom, I actually read something that as the mother heals, that healing is transferred onto the children, no matter how old they are.
Yeah.
And he said, I've noticed that because you've done so much work on yourself, I'm feeling more stable in myself.
Yep.
And I always say that this work that we're doing here, it's a shame that we've kept it a secret for so long. Literally, the Soul Extraction course has been a secret for years, where only those people who make the call hear about it, know about it, even know it exists. I'm so glad we're bringing it out to everybody to see, because this is a generational investment. We talk about generational wealth. We talk about, put money away, make sure that you create funds and trust funds and for your children, and put this in a trust. But we're not securing their connections. We're not securing their love legacy. We're not securing their connection with the world and making it more secure. We're leaving people a lot of money. We're leaving our children a lot of things. And the reason they will blow those things is they will use those things to try to soothe
the connection,
only a genuine, soulful connection with the world can provide. And so for me, when it comes to the investment, this is a big investment. It's a huge investment, because you're not investing just in yourself. You're not investing just to get a man. You're not just investing to feel better, to do better. This transformation is transgenerational.
Yeah. And I was also going to say it's also horizontal. I have a friend actually she didn't join Black Swan, but I do remember she did some work. And the one thing that she was afraid of is that she was going to change and her husband might not find her attractive, might leave, she's like, I don't want to change too much because, but I remember having the conversation years ago, when I was first starting the journey, having the conversation with her about but the thing is, how can someone leave you for you improving yourself and bringing out your more authentic self? And then most people are afraid to start the journey because of their current. So I was saying it's not even just like vertical, as in the last generation and the next generation. It's also people around you, your horizontal relationships, as in your partner. So some of you are not coming in to get a partner. You're coming in because you still lack something even within the relationship that you're with now. And there's this one thing that we always say, the only way to change something is to change yourself.
Right.
And if you are a wife out there who's like, you know what, my relationship is dead, I can't, and my husband is this, my husband is that, or my father is this, it's really more to do with how you then internalize and change yourself. And I'm sure all of you guys have, especially Yvonne, I think you've dealt with some women who are actually married. I've experienced it more from a standpoint where someone actually reattracts their love, the love they thought was the love of their life, only to realize that no, actually, no, I don't want this person. And we're then able to let go of that wound, and we're able to heal that relationship and actually come away from it in a very enlightened way, and actually say, you know what, thank you so much for this journey, because what then that did is propelled her to the next amazing relationship that she's got now. So what I was saying is, the whole thing of soulmate is not just the generations, and I see it for myself with my daughter. I see the conversations that we're now 18, I see the conversations that we're having. I see myself holding back at times when I really want to say something, and I see the growth in myself as well, where it's that transition point between young girl, adult, and grown woman, you know, getting into that stage. And I think soulmate helps you bridge, especially module 6, it helps you bridge that bit where it's like, okay, this is where I want this relationship to go. And then you're able to, I keep saying, to build that vocabulary to allow, and because your children are watching you, and in the cases where we see our relatives frequently, they are watching and they're seeing how we are now carrying ourselves, how we are now talking, how we're now behaving, where before we would have been erratic. We're now a lot more, like, not subdued, but a lot more calm and understanding and things like that. I think we underestimate the influence we've always had. Then soulmate brings it out, and then everybody else gets to enjoy it and see it. And it's not like anyone will come back and say to you, oh, like you say, the mom didn't say, oh, you know, I learned this from you, but it's, you start to see them shifting different things. And I love to watch my friends around me shifting. Like, you know, I've become like the observer of life around me, because I know it's come from a time, maybe I might have mentioned something about soulmate or maybe behaved differently. And I now hear them saying exactly those same words that I'm like, oh, wow. And this thing really travels. So I guess it's only to say, like, when you do soulmate, it's not just for you. It's literally for your whole environment. It's not just for your children, especially for your children, they definitely need it, but your friends as well, because sometimes, I know we keep on saying we lose friends, but sometimes real friends, real connected friends, it just makes the bond stronger. It just makes you grow together. It just makes them kind of look in as well and wonder what is going on there. I want a piece of that action, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, when you talked, when you just said, Unique, about it's horizontal, and, you know, you may have some women who are sitting at home, if they're not listening to it live now and they're going to listen to it later, they may hear what you said, but I've got no family, I'm on my own. But here's the thing, you go to work.
Yeah.
There, you go to the supermarket, you may go to the library, you may go to, you know, the clothes shop, the dress shop, wherever it is that you go. You may not have a family, but you interact with people. And if you're interacting with people and you're surly for no apparent reason in your, you know, place of work, people will just say of you, oh, that's just Jane. We all know that Jane blows up because of, but nobody loves you enough to say to you, Jane, you are getting angry over somebody taking your pen away. What's going on? Nobody loves you enough to ask you, how are you really doing? What is going on with you? How can I be of service to you? And when you have somebody doing that for you, you may think at that time, what are you after? But if enough people ask you, you know that there's one there who you can trust to speak to. And if you still can't find anybody to speak to, all it's going to cost you is going online and putting in Black Swan Relationship Academy and look for book a discovery call. Talk to somebody who does not know you, who does not have a preconceived idea of who you are, so that we can direct you in the right place where you can get help. Because if you're misbehaving at work and you're misbehaving when you go shopping or do something, we've all been in the supermarkets and walking down the street and you see people doing this at each other and you think, oh my goodness, you know, and we all walk off and go where it is that we're going and wonder, what is it that they could have said to you that would have made you reacted that way? And when you really think about it and you go home, it's something so small. But because nobody cares, or you think nobody cares, but you know, the truth of that is, it's that you don't care about you. Because when you care about you, you don't behave that way. I was reading an article when I first started with Black Swan. And as I was doing my research and my training, etc., I looked up what it meant to be a high value woman. And all the things that it says, you know, you're kind and you're gentle and you do and you do and you do. But you know, the thing that has always stuck with me, and what it says is that a high value woman never criticizes herself. She only says good about her. And when we think of the things that we tell ourselves, if somebody was to tell us that out in the road, we would be fighting daily, but we think it's okay to belittle us. And it isn't. And when you do module 6 and you get there and it tells you to write your legacy is not going to be that I was an idiot. I've been a fool and I've been a this and I've been a that and I am. And no. We've got rid of those angst and we've got rid of those things. So you may not have a family, you may not have people around you, but that who you think that you want to call family, as in aunties, uncles, and what have you. But you have work colleagues. So think of those. And when you're thinking of those and think about your behavior today, think about, okay, how do I change it? Just ask yourself, do you want to continue this way? And if your answer is no, then there is something that you can do about it. If you think that what it is that you did, it is okay to do that and behave that way as a woman, then sweetheart, continue and let's see how far it gets you. Because
Give
when
it a
the
go.
blind leads the blind, the destination is always the ditch. So
100%.
come on over to this side.
100%, and you got to be ready. You know,
Yes.
I was just thinking about a client of mine who is just a module 6 now, and she started dating, and you know, it's all very for her. So she sends me a message, I think it was last night, and she's like, oh Chengi, I feel like I'm playing this guy because he wants to fly 6 hours to come and see me. So I was like, gave her that emoji, you know, the emoji. I said to her,
this one, is it this one?
Yeah, that one, that really. And the good thing is, before I could even answer, she self-corrected, because she realizes, no, that was my old self. My new self is worthy.
Yes.
A man wanting to, I said, honey, men have flown from different countries to take me out on a date. And not even gotten a kiss out of it. Right? Like, I remember living outside of London, and I used to literally get on a train to go on a date, like literally do a 2-hour train ride to go on a date to make it convenient for him. That's my dating, my low value days. Okay.
Long.
Get over now. As I went through this journey for myself, which obviously, you know, you get to do it in 4 months. It took me about 10 years. Okay. As I went through this journey, I actually found that I remember talking to a guy on an app, and he was in New Zealand, and he was an entrepreneur. And he literally said, look, I don't have any business in London at the moment, but I can make business happen. Okay. I can make business happen to be in London. And I remember him flying into London, then flying into West Sussex, then driving to West Sussex for 2 hours to take me out for dinner. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, I really appreciate the effort, but I don't like you. And I'm not talking about being a brat. Do not get me wrong. But it was really about, I'm a very good person to date. I will always make it worth your while. You know, I'm so good. I'm so good at dating. I perfected it. You know, I always make a man feel amazing. I make him feel valued. I'm just so good at it. So it's never going to be a waste of time. But it was actually a realization that and he literally got off his plane. He hadn't even gone to his hotel. He literally got off his plane, got in his ride and drove over, and literally, I mean, it was ridiculous, the effort. And I noticed that it was really not about me making demands on men. It was about understanding that my new normal was to be valuable, was to understand that I bring so much of who I am into a man's life. I started to look and think, I've not been with a man whose life is just not 10x'd. I've not had that experience where I've had a partner, a boyfriend, and their lives have not 10x'd, gone to a whole new level. Their money, their emotional, mental, just this. And I looked at myself and I thought, gosh, Chengi, this is what you bring into a man's life. When he gets you, he gets treasure beyond measure. Why do you work so hard to get him? And I didn't start making requirements. Men themselves, the men that I started attracting were like, I'll come to you. I had men driving 5 hours to take me out on a date. I've had men do all kinds of things to take me out on a date and never see me again because they were not compatible or it just wasn't right for me, mainly. But it's that understanding that when you do the work and you take that journey, even your energy signature says, I'm worth the ride, I'm worth the flight, I'm worth the effort. And you don't even have to tell the guys. You don't have to say, hey, look, if you want to be with me, you have to come to me. You know, you don't have to have any of those things. He wants to. And a certain person recently I was talking to, and they'll know who they are. It's a journey. You know, a man who wants a woman who knows her value and who truly brings value, because that's another thing as well. It's not enough to just think you're valuable, even though it's a start. You really have to be convinced and convicted that you bring value. And that is a journey. That's a journey into your stories. That's a journey to then write your new legacy, because that legacy can only be based on knowing that I'm worth it. Right? Because I want to tell you a secret. No man wants to be with a woman who doesn't love herself or put value in herself. Well, there are some men that do, but usually those men are toxic or horrible or just losers. But a man of great worth and of great value genuinely loves and adores the idea of a woman who truly has value, who knows her value, is humble with it, and is able to really create that wonderful feminine experience for him. And, you know, he won't walk away, trust me, feeling like, oh, she was a complete waste of time. Will he be disappointed? Of course, we're disappointed when we pursue something and that thing doesn't want us. And I'm sure all of these gentlemen who flew and drove, made a connection in the same town, city, or London and moved on, right? It's not the end of the world, but it's really, this is the transformation we're talking about. We're talking about a transformation that is so spiritual, that is so effectual, that it just starts to happen around you. It happens with your friends, it happens with your family, it happens with your connections. All of a sudden, you create these connections where you become that person people are prepared to go out of their way for. People are prepared to show up for. People are prepared to be there for. So that's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to leave you ladies to have a final word, and then we're going to say our goodbyes or see if we've got any questions in the comments.
I was just reading through, I think it was the time when I was talking about the intercessory prayers, about making yourself whole. Those who know will know. I'm sure at some point when we've all been Christians, it may not have been the same prayer that I did, but we've all made a version of it. But again, so it is I think it's hey you serving her. Oh, I don't like doing, okay, no, it's not a question. It's just comments.
Right.
But if anyone have any questions, I think they should ask now while we're still here before we go. Saying that, I think for me, maybe from a coach's point of view, it's when you do the soulmate with a client, it's you seeing that transformation within them. It's you seeing the changing in their life. It's you seeing them being able to reach out for their goals. And it also changes you as well.
Yes.
It changes us as well. It's like, we definitely learn, or she says, hey, you there. It's not hey, you seven, hey, you there. Sorry. It, and I think sometimes, because we're kind of like coming to the seventh module, but really it takes about 12 weeks to actually do this. It's not 1 week, we just do 1 hour, and it's a process. You're having constant conversation. You really get to be in this person's life intricately, and you get to see their ugly. You get to see those things that they've hidden from themselves. I guess in our world, you'd call it the shadow or dark feminine, or you get to really see all parts of this person, even the fallen nature of a human being. You get to really see who someone is. And on the other side, when you have an open mind and are accepting, it's funny how then that transforms someone's acceptance of themselves. And which is what they then go and show their children. They then go and show their partners. Is that, I think that's what we all want, really, the connection and acceptance. Because I'm afraid to connect with you because you might really see me and then you won't accept me. And then you will reject me. Those are the things that we're really all afraid of. But when you, first of all, connect with yourself, you stop being afraid. And that's when the scarcity mindset drops off, because when you connect yourself, you realize that actually I am abundant. I'm abundant in love. I'm abundant in affection. I'm abundant in everything I want. I am abundant. So it kind of drops off all those thoughts that you would have had from before. And you really, truly, really, like, I don't know how many times I can say really, 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 really. You really, really, really get who you are. Like, you get the essence of who Unique is, who Yvonne is, who Chengi is, who Nadine is, who Adrina is, like who Hey You There is. You really get to understand, and acceptance kind of starts with yourself. Like you're saying, Yvonne, like you learn to loving yourself. You accept yourself. Then by accepting yourself, everything that will accept you just comes to you naturally. I guess in closing, my thing is like, look, consider the soulmate, consider a discovery call, consider just a conversation, because that is how connection starts. Consider a connection with one of our coaches. Don't look at it as a discovery call, consider it a connection. It's an invitation to come and discover yourself, come and discover what your potential ultimately could be. It's like, come and open that door that you've been so afraid to open. You might be surprised who's on the other side.
It's a case also, Unique, of not only might you be surprised, but guess what? You may actually love what you see, because in each and every one of us, there is that little girl who just wants to be loved. Yeah. And we give you that opportunity to let the little girl out and find the love that you're looking for. And that love, it's not going to be painful. It's not going to be degrading. It's not going to, kick you to the curb. It's the love that you have for you. Because the one thing, since we've been talking about this, that keeps coming back to mind, and that thing is, I am worthy. And, when you keep telling yourself that I am worthy, then you understand, and you then begin to believe it, because the scripture that comes to mind is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you think you're wonderful, if you think you're worthy, it's only a matter of time before those people around you see you as wonderful and see you as worthy. And do you know what? We can do the soulmate, and you can do self-study. And, if somebody wants to do a self-study, please go ahead and do it. But here's the thing. When you come across sections of it that you need to do a totally deep dive in, we've got this place in Jamaica called Rick's Cafe, and it's right at the top of the mountain. It is most beautiful, and people go there to see the sunset. It is absolutely awesome when you go to Rick's Cafe. It's right at the very top of the hill, and you all around you, you see the sea at the bottom, and you see these people diving off the cliffs and all of that. And the last time I was in Jamaica and we was there, when we got back to the hotel, there was this older couple, and they were holding the woman up because she couldn't walk. And what she did was she belly flopped into the sea from about 40 meters up. And everyone knows that when you're going to go into water from that level, you have to cut through it. You can't because where you cut through, then your body comes, if you go feet first or, head first with your hands down. She belly flopped, and of course, nothing cut. So the water met her, and she couldn't, the signs are up everywhere. You jump at your, own risk. And I say all that to say this: when you don't know how to dive head first in, you get hurt. So what, even if when you get to the points that, I'm going to need help here, somebody's going to have to show me how to dive off this cliff, then what you can do is book a coach and do an hourly call with them. Book a series of mentoring calls with us so that we can help you and give you the tools that you need in order for you to jump off that cliff, cut through, go into the water safely, where you don't come out being more hurt than when you go in.
Yeah.
Yes? And that was my last.
I love that. I love that analogy. It's so powerful because I think everybody's just jumping and hoping for the best.
Yes.
And those jumps are creating so much more pain, so much more difficulty in moving forward. Now, I know we can sit here and keep talking until the cows come home. And I know that there's a question from Hey You There. And the question is, before we go, it's related to self-criticism. I also think I've got a question. It's related to self-criticism. So I'm having difficulty relaying to people that certain things are actual challenges I have due to having ADHD and all that. How to communicate so others understand. That's the question. Instead of them automatically assuming that I have low self-esteem, a negative, etc. Because what happens when those things aren't observed is I ultimately get very overwhelmed, burned out. I'm currently there. And my inner critic gets extremely loud for not having my boundaries met. Now, that's a really great question. And to be honest with you, when we have a diagnosis or a condition or something that we live with that kind of restrains us from expressing ourselves or living in our fullness, sometimes we can use that as a crutch. Sometimes we can forget how much more capacity we have. When you're told, okay, when I've got ADHD, the limitations, but sometimes you don't explore the glory of it, the other side of it. Just like a person with autism also has a great deal of intelligence and creativity and all these things, right? That also exactly. You might have, I was actually saying to my son the other day that my trauma made me, or somebody else, I don't know if it was my son, but I was talking about how my trauma made me so good at reading people because I did it for survival. But when I realized that, yes, I have complex PTSD or whatever from so many things that have happened, but a gift was given to me along the way. I think what happens is when it comes to expressing ourselves to people, even when we have something that, we carry with us, or a pain or a condition or whatever, is often we make ourselves that thing. You're not your ADHD.
Yeah.
And we can make I am that. That's not who you are. You have that as a condition. It presents as a limitation, but it also presents an opportunity to connect with people authentically. You know, prefacing certain things like, you know, I have ADHD, so this might not come out exactly the way I want it said, but this is what I would like to say. You know, learning to communicate, going to a therapist, speaking to people, joining groups where people have ADHD and are functioning really well, and really looking at the other side of the coin of what it actually brings to the table. But I feel that when you walk into the room, not defining yourself by your conditions or your diagnosis, all of these things. And even if you do, let's say the Soulmate Attraction System course, and you come out on the other side and you really know who you are, what you want, what you deserve, these are soulful things. You step into the world unapologetic. And I always say communication isn't about the words. That we know that at least 90-something% of communication is nonverbal anyway.
Yeah.
It's really about how we think about ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. And if people are picking up a low self-esteem, if they're picking up you're negative, whatever, that's because that's in your soul. That's in your energy field, because you've allowed your ADHD to be you. It's not you. So this is a fantastic conversation that we can go into forever and ever. I'm not a clinically trained anybody. So, you know, I'm saying this from the perspective of a coach, but obviously you can speak to a therapist or somebody with clinical training if you really, you know, or join certain support groups as well. There's always people to turn to, but certainly from a coaching perspective, that's the position that you need to take and really kind of examine, have I made myself this? You know, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of us are sitting with a lot of conditions that are undiagnosed.
Yeah.
And I think I remember this time I did a video with, gosh, I forget her name, but we were talking about, what was that? Neurodiversity.
Yeah.
And I remember Unique and I was sitting there thinking, I think I might be neurodiverse. I might be neurodiverse, right? It had never occurred to us that perhaps, and maybe, right? So one of the things that I know, definitely working within this industry as a coach and having our counselor Shani come in and kind of doing some assessments along with us and supporting us on this journey, she's come back to me with clients and, oh, this client has, you know, this condition. I think, you know, they've got this diagnosis, but I don't think they know that they've got a complex attachment style, or they have, you know, multiple personality disorder, right? And unless they'd come for coaching, they would have never known. But guess what? They were functioning. They were functioning fine.
Isn't that what we do though? We just function because we have to get by in the world. And unless you know how you work, you're always, and that's the thing, this is the thing about the avatar as well. It's our ego. It will allow you to function in your disability as much as possible, as you possibly can, and you'll be okay. But then there's always going to be something that your soul is yearning for. So again, it's all of these labels that the ego loves to hold on to. The ego loves to hold on to labels, this is my diagnosis, this is my illness, this is my, you know, but we're not asking you to let go of it. We're just saying that there is more beyond. There is a lot more beyond. And what it serves as, especially in this case, it serves as a limitation. It serves as you holding back, and it could actually present itself as a block to you finding authentic love. Yeah. Because those are the things that we talk about in Soulmate. We identify all of this, and there's always what is the best case scenario rather than what we always think of as what's the worst case. There's always a best case. There's always what's the best that could happen. And like Chengi said, like, look, an ex of mine actually did say, Unique, I think. And that's the thing, is like, we are all always functioning until we actually want to dig deep and do better and do more. Like when you look at any of these superstars, they will always tell you that they had to overcome themselves. They have to overcome your limiting stories. You have to overcome and which is why we say we're overcomers, because there's so much we have to kind of literally shed and allow ourselves to shed. I was actually looking in the module as well. There's a bit where it says after telling yourself I'm enough, and after doing my new normal it's I choose to. It's like you now start to choose. Yes, this is a new normal I want to have, but it's your right to choose it. It's your right to choose to go beyond your limitations. It's your right. It's your God-given human right to choose it and allow yourself to experience it. So in a way, thank you for actually mentioning this, because it allows us to then really go into it a little bit deeper, because these are the things that we talk about in the soulmate. These are the things that we talk about on one-to-one coaching, because sometimes we can't, like right now, it's all generalized, right? We're saying, oh, we're giving an example from here and an example from there. But when it comes to you specifically, you have your own unique imprint. Come on, all of us, even twins don't have the same fingerprints. You have to have your own unique imprint on this earth. But how do you find that when you're always being told, okay, you have to act like so and so in a generic and egoic way? Whereas if you do soulmate, it's literally tailored to you. It's one-to-one. You're writing your own story. No one else has a copy of the story but you. It might look similar. We might point you in a certain way to say, go and look at so and so site. You can find out how they did this part of the journey. And like Chengi say, join groups, find out other people who are doing past the, this is my story. Let's actually create what is the best case that you could actually develop from this. What story could this be? What legacy could this leave for you? Like the hey you there was there.
Exactly. And hey you says, she said, what did she say? She said, sorry, by the way, that it came across as a long-winded, as it was a bit long-winded, because there's always lots more to the story. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that you said there's lots more to the story, which is why we always invite you to come deeper, make that connection with us, because there's nothing like telling your story, the whole story, not feeling like, when you come on these calls, like Unique has just said, we can only give you generic advice. We can only talk around the subject. We can't get your story. And what we want to do is get into your story, because when we get into your story, when we hear your story and you feel heard and you feel seen and you feel understood, and then we can take you on a journey from your story to the story that your heart truly desires, that your soul craves, and you can see and you have the tools and you can take step by step to the very end of that story. That's what it's about. And, if you are here, if you're watching this 10 years from now, 5 years from now, tomorrow, right now, you were meant to come across this video. And you might be in a position where you're like, my life right now is funny. My money's funny, or my time is funny, or something is funny, and I can't. But I tell you what, start the journey, be intentional, decide that you are worthy, that you deserve. And like Unique said, choose to take a journey that you've never taken before, and choose to pay a price you have never paid before, because there is no uncommon blessing without an uncommon sacrifice. And on that note, we shall say our goodbyes. We love you to bits and pieces, and we will see you again next week.
Yes, we will.
Love you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.